as announcing that 461 homes are to be swallowed up by this deep sea port project in Sanyang, and it's causing, naturally, a lot of unrest among the Sanyang community. Not everybody would like to lose their home. Does it need clarifying? And if yes, what's there to clarify?
Well, yes, certainly. Ever since the location of Sanyang was chosen for the construction of the new deep sea port, we had engaged the community with a view to sensitizing them about what it involves in terms of the acquisition of the areas that might be affected. Now, in that process, the consultant that we recruited to go on site and do the mapping exercise had actually mobilized. But because what I could say, take back, is that there was a breakdown in communication, because we could have, with hindsight, accompanied him with the VDC so that the community would be properly sensitized that this consultant is coming around to just do a mapping exercise. All we have at this moment is a layout plan. And for the community of Sanyang, it needs to be clear that the area that government envisages to acquire for this port infrastructure are in two lots. The first lot is the construction of the port infrastructure proper, and that is going seaward. What the investor has plans to do is to reclaim part of the sea and build the port infrastructure on sea. Now, because of the whole business that surrounds the port and maritime ecosystem, involves the setup of free zones and special economic zones. So these are the structures that will go on land. And now government envisages to acquire these properties for future development. So it's not that when we announce that these are the properties that are affected, bulldozers are coming in the next week to start putting people's homes down. No, that's not the case. What we are guided by is a legal framework, which is the Land Acquisition and Compensation Act. And in that, the compensation precedes the acquisition. And in that process, the property owners that may be affected will have to be engaged on a settlement, which has to be negotiated. And it will get their involvement in the sense that they are adequately represented at the level of the VDC. So what we expect going forward is more engagement, more sensitization. But for the community in Sanyang, just to allay the affairs, that government is not going in there to forcefully acquire anybody's property or to keep them out of their homes, without being adequately compensated. And by and large, our strategy in this resettlement action plan is governed by a primary objective, which is restoration. We are looking at a situation where people who, for example, young Gambians who have hospitality business along the beach, rather than putting a value on the business, compensating them, and then maybe 5 years down the line, they are not economically or socio-economically any better because of various challenges. We would look at a situation where those activities will be relocated elsewhere so that there will be at least continuous earning. So that's the strategy we're adopting. And looking at the whole package, I think the VDC of Sanyang adequately represents the community interest. Because in our meetings with them, we've realized that, there was breakdown in communication in the sense that the consultant should not have been allowed to go on site without being accompanied by the GPA and the VDC, so that the community will be at ease to know that it's not that we're going to acquire properties and move people out immediately, but it's a view to identifying all what is going to be affected in terms of the properties, both movable and immovable, and what we call project affected persons, PAPs, and the farmlands and bare lands that are involved in this second lot, which is where the special economic zone and the free zone is to be cited.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently the strategy was not sold well to the people of Sanyang, because I hear you've been written to personally by their legal representative raising questions about, information sharing and all of that. Some of them claim they were not even informed that their homes were going to be taken by this project.
Well, as I said, we take back the initiative that was done by the consultant. With hindsight, he could have been accompanied by the GPA and also members of the VDC. But ever since, as I said earlier, the VDC, you have quite accomplished Gambians in that VDC that is ably representing the community. You have the likes of the retired Major Momodu Bojang, who served as a cabinet minister in this government, in the former government. And you have the likes of Dr. Sidi Sanyang, who I think worked in the international arena. And these are people who are quite aware about how such projects are handled in other countries. Yes, there was a breakdown in communication, but when we had a meeting with them at the ministry, which was chaired by our Honorable Minister Ibrahim Asila, the legal counsel, senior lawyer Lamin J. Dabo, was present, and in that we accepted that there was breakdown in communication. But the way we have addressed that is to ensure that anytime we are going into Sanyang, we have a pre-assessment meeting, and this was done. Now, we fan back, try to take back some of the concerns that they have expressed, and then we have now a pre-entry meeting again. So before any consultant goes on site again, we have to meet with the VDC. And what they are requesting now is the communication, rather than just being on phone call to say we have an appointment. We start to document our engagement with them by way of exchanging communication formally. And that is what we're about to do now with the next steps that we expect to engage. And just 2 weeks ago, the independent engineer that the GPA has recruited, the Royal Haskoning of the Netherlands, to assist the GPA in assessing the technical information and so most of the engineering designs that this investor is going to submit, was on site just on a familiarization tour. And we had to call the VDC to accompany them. So they were there together with the investor and this independent engineer to look at the ground and see where the activities need to be started, just as a site visit.
One other complaint of the people who are not happy with their homes seemingly being targeted is that GPA, Al Bayrak, government of the Gambia, avoided a foreign investment real estate company with a large chunk of developed and partly developed land there to take up the homes of ordinary Gambians. How true is that?
Well, it's not an information that I'm aware about, but what we know is that
apparently there's an Indian real estate company that has a big piece of land there, and the entire area is not affected by the port project.
Well, the choice of location